Welcome to Climbing Ladders, where I'm living proof that mentorship works, especially when your mentors have superhuman patience and low expectations. Episode 9 of Climbing Ladders starts now. Welcome back to Climbing Ladders, the podcast where we break down the career climb without the corporate jargon, without the 47-page slide deck, and definitely without the lukewarm conference room coffee. I'm Kevin, your co host and one of your guides, and the person most likely to accidentally schedule a meeting during your lunch break. And as always, I'm joined by the brilliant, unflappable, and definitely the responsible one of this duo, Christine. Hey, Christine.
Hey, and I accept all of that. So thank you. We are recording this episode during Thanksgiving week, which means our productivity is about 70% work, 30% already thinking about how I'm going to graze all day on Thursday. And Kevin cannot schedule over that for me. So I'm happy that he will be away. But we are very grateful for all of you burnouts listening along and sending amazing feedback. Since it's right before Thanksgiving, I'm practicing my responses for that one relative who always asks, "So, how's work going?" Kevin, any idea how to answer that?
Yeah, sure. It's just easy. Just say something vague like, interesting times. And then just shove mashed potatoes in your mouth. Also, feel free to distract them by changing the subject, but try to avoid getting into that conversation about the economic impact of AI on politics in today's climate. That's a dark hole and will keep you from the pumpkin pie. So, speaking of changing subjects, it's just you and I today flying the podcast plane. What are we going to get into today, Christine?
I really love this topic. So, today we're talking about mentorship, the invisible force that pushes your career forward, even when you think you're just stumbling around, hoping HR lost your last email. Mentorship is the cheat code nobody tells you about. It's like having somebody who already climbed the ladder and is yelling down there, "Hey, don't step on that wobbly bit."
Totally. Good mentors, they definitely shorten your learning curve, open the doors, and occasionally tell you, yes, you should definitely not send that Slack message. The way I always look at it is they are your Sherpa. They've been to the top of the mountain many times. Mentors know there's more than one path to get there too, and they'll guide you along the way, helping you avoid all those scary trails or harder climbs. Really, a great mentor does three things. One, they listen without fixing. Two, they challenge without crushing. And three, they invest without expecting a return. So basically, they're like your parents, but they don't give you allowance and they don't care if you break your curfew throwing it down on a work night. So, CT, let's talk about it more and jump right in. What makes a great mentor?
Totally. So, a good mentor is, I would say, honest, very patient, and willing to teach without turning it into a TED Talk audition. And also, chemistry matters. It totally
Yes.
matters. You have to jive with this person. If talking to your mentor feels like a annual performance review, that is not mentorship. That's just straight up trauma. So you need to have trust in the relationship and know that they have your back. They're on your side. Right, Kevin?
Yeah. Trust is so key. I'm glad you said that. And to me, thinking about it, my favorite mentors were built on trust. They certainly cared about my growth and not just recreating a mini version of themselves. When I think about them all, one common thread is how much they genuinely cared about me. Like I'm their kid or I'm their sibling. Two of my mentors, Gene and Jackie, who I worked with together at the same company for 11 years, I always say Jean is my second dad, and Jackie is the sister I got to choose.
No shade,
And
Crystal.
yeah, shout out to my sister Crystal. Didn't get to choose her, but she's great. But these mentors of mine, they're so special. I honestly get a little emotional thinking about them. Is that how you feel about your mentors?
Oh, absolutely. When we were talking about this next episode and mentorship came up, it actually got me in my feels for sure.
Mm,
I've had some really amazing mentors in my early career that really changed the trajectory of how I presented myself and opened up a lot of doors for my development. Not necessarily, a segue to the next promotion, but gave me the tools, which I think are even better, to build
mhm,
my pathway to the next rung, if you will. So they gave me honest and very hard feedback, which delivering feedback itself is an art. And delivering feedback to someone who is super stubborn and, hard-headed
no.
and independent, that takes a lot of skill. So I think they did it with so much grace. But thank goodness I was smart enough to sit my ass down to listen to it, learn from it, and apply it. From there, I was able to have some memorable experiences in my career. It gave me lifelong friends and leadership skills I will have forever. Like, these leadership skills, I have to say, it's my favorite thing about how I work is how I manage my teams and how I lead my
Mhm,
teams, and that's all due to the feedback I received. But like I mentioned, they did not necessarily pave the way to my next step in my career. They gave me the tools, so I have to just give a shout out to Adam and Rebecca for the tough love and guidance, and because of mentors like them, they see things in you that you don't see for yourself.
yeah. Let's give a big shout out to Adam and Rebecca, and
Woo!
yeah, that's a big one. And yes, they definitely see things that you don't see, and those are things like potential, or like you said, the great leadership skills that you actually took to heart and made it your own. Also, there's ways that mentors see things like, "Hey, you look stressed and you need a snack." I've had those mentors. However, if a mentor says to you, "You remind me of a younger version of me," that's either a compliment or the start of your villain origin story. And I think back, CT, with you and I, us being Asian and not having a ton of celebrity Asian role models growing up to look forward to. Um, I'm a huge Mr. Miyagi fan. I think he's the model of a great mentor. And the best mentors, they don't necessarily give you all the answers and tell you what to do. They make you do chores around the house, and 3 months later, you have an awesome new car, a hot new girlfriend, and the All Valley Karate Championship belt. But in all seriousness, they give you that one sentence that smacks you in the face in the shower 3 months later. That to me is a good mentor.
Yeah, I definitely think that's super true, and speaking of Mr. Miyagi, I use him a lot, or I have used him a lot in how I would teach my direct report certain things. I was in visual merchandising a ton, and I would make them redo stuff like 100 times. It was very much like the wax on, wax off,
Mhm.
like, you have to perfect it, or, what is that one Netflix documentary? Is it Sushi? I Dream of Sushi or Sushi by Jiro?
I know what you're talking about. I don't
Yeah,
know
he
the name.
he was the same thing, and, I know that whoever's listening to us will be like, "No, you're saying it wrong." But anyways, he would have his apprentice, like, they would start with tamago and sushi
Mhm.
rice, and they would do that for, like, a couple years before they could even touch a knife, like,
Wow.
to cut a fish. So, I think about that. But anyways, we're totally getting off track again, but let's get into types of mentors that you would meet in the wild. So, shifting gears to that, as we get into our careers, it's really crazy how we even come across our mentors. And it's almost like making friends as an adult, right?
Mhm.
You know that it can happen. You know they exist. So, let's talk about the types of mentors out there and how we can define them. We all know the classic types. First one on our list is the cheerleader. Overly supportive even when you did nothing, like, just super hyping you up. You answer one email and they're like, "Oh my god, amazing leadership." But the cheering and support, it isn't just positive hype. They genuinely love celebrating all the wins, the big and small ones, and, of course, they like to reinforce behavior when you don't necessarily believe it's worth celebrating. So, what's another one, Kev?
Yeah, I love the cheerleader.
I know.
Also dated a few in high school. So next one though, and this is one I really truly do love and live by. and they are the connector. They literally have 10,000 LinkedIn connections. They know everyone, everywhere, all at once, movie reference, and they literally have a contact for anything you need. You wanna talk to someone about finance? Do you lack in marketing strategy? They've got a gal for that. You want someone who pours the best old fashioned? They'll connect you in 2 seconds with some incredible bartender. Interestingly, CT, this is a timely story. So this weekend, I was in an Uber heading downtown for dinner and a show, and my Uber driver asked me about what I do, just making small talk. So we get into it. He says, I'm having a hard time finding a full time gig. And he's been driving his car since April. But what was cool to this story is he's like, hey, I recently picked up the CEO, drove him to the airport, and the CEO said, hey, listen, I've heard your story now. I've got a great guy that I want to connect you with in the tech business. Give me your email and I'll take care of it as soon as I get through airport security. And sure enough, 30 minutes after this Uber driver dropped off the CEO, the Uber driver got his email and he was just floored that this busy, successful guy took time out of his busy schedule and sent this email to connect a stranger. And it just reminded me that being a mentor can be just that one time interaction that shows how you can lead by example. Thought it was so cool. He met his mentor in an Uber. So we've got more mentor types on our list, don't we? What you got, CT?
All right. This one I would say is another common one, and it's a challenger. They're the ones that ask why so many times that you start questioning your existence. And honestly, this one challenges my patience more than anything. But sometimes they do help you find your blind spots. They are kind of like I don't know, not an antagonist, but they antagonize you sometimes for sure.
Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But they definitely challenge you in the sense of knowing that you can do it or that you've shown potential for something. So they're kind of just pushing your buttons to see how you would react or how you can think outside of the box or how you can be resourceful. So again, you're not gonna jive with every one of these mentors that Kevin and I listed, but these are, I would say, the common ones that you would run into. So,
Yeah.
anything you wanna add to the challenger before we get to our next part?
Yeah, one thing is just when you were talking about it, I was thinking like these people see all the angles and they love saying, let's double click into the why, the motivation, the purpose. And candidly, I do that a lot too. And I know it's maddening. I get it. It's just also really nice to have somebody like push you that way. So yeah.
No, totally. It's asking the 5 whys. Have you done that exercise before?
No, tell me about it.
Well, it's like a Simon Sinek exercise,
Okay.
essentially, and it's a problem-solving team build, and I'm not gonna explain the whole scenario, but essentially the problem was that there was birds coming in and ruining something, and he's like, "Well, why are the birds coming in?" And you're like, "Well, that's where they eat." "Okay, well, why are they eating the food?" And you're like, "Okay, well, why does it have to be that specific food?" So he would kind of build you to keep answering these things until you got to the root cause. It's essentially helping you find root cause, and it's a root cause analysis. For every scenario, there's always going to be 5 whys to it. So if you can look at any problem that you're facing and answer the 5 whys and feel like you finally hit the bottom and that solves everything, then you found the solution. And it's a good solution or it's truly the solution to your problem.
Love that. That definitely sounds like a Simon Sinek thing. Just say why. Ask why. Let's keep going on the why. Dig it.
Yep, I love him.
All right. So, hey, I don't know about you, CT. I have some pretty amazing mentors in my life, and I like to call them my board of directors. I say, let's share some of our best mentor stories and what advice has stuck with us. I'll kick it off. Some, like I said, I use for specific work advice. I.e., shout out to Mary. She's incredible at that. And others are a blend of life and career advice. And like the previously mentioned second dad of mine, Gino, Gene was and is all those things for me. When I first met him, I was at this company where Gene was our sales agency partner. My boss told me my first day of work, I'm like, what do I do? And he's like, you just got to work with this old guy, Gene. Well, old guy Gene and we became very close very fast. I would literally call him every day and pick his brain on any business question. He made the time for me, and literally, I did this for 5 years straight. It wouldn't matter the topic, we would talk about anything. He was actually the reason I first moved from Denver to Minnesota, which also was a little complicated because when I told my boss at the time I was ready to move and join Gene's business, this boss went back on an agreement to let me go because he didn't want agencies to hire away his sales guys. Gene fought for me on my behalf. He called this boss and said, "Listen, this is what Kevin wants. This is what's best for Kevin's career growth. And I'm not here to ask you. I'm just telling you, Kevin's coming." And this was this whole like moment for me. I'm like, oh, one, Gene's awesome. Two, don't mess with Gene. Gene's the man. He also had these great sayings. If life was ever really hard, he'd say, "Kev, this too shall pass." And that calmness just made everything better. He'd meet me at the office every Saturday morning and we'd work together from 8 a.m. till noon. And we were just trying to stay ahead of our work. And he'd then treat me to Red Robin after for lunch. We'd have this quiet time together, and he's like, "Hey, how are you doing here in Minneapolis? Are you adjusting well? Are you making friends?" He just cared so much about me. Again, literally like my dad. He's just the best. And ultimately, what I gained from him was, hey, work hard, take care of those around you. That can be a way of life. And he led by example. And everyone, I mean, everyone loves Gino. I absolutely bawled crying giving him a toast at his retirement party. He's meant that much to me. What about you, CT?
Oh my gosh. Well, that was actually super heartfelt. And I feel like I know a lot about you, but when we do these episodes and you dig into your archives of your network or stories and stuff like that, I see your character building through these stories. So it's really cool to hear that.
Oh, I love
Um,
that
so
comment.
for my story, you guys had heard us or my like I guess weak shout out to Rebecca and Adam as Kevin put it, but I mentioned that those two stood out to me as mentors in my very early years. So when I got my first job with a huge San Francisco corporate retail giant, I was a salty young lady. No comments from you, Kevin. Okay. I
That's anything.
I know, but and I was having a really hard time adjusting to the culture of the business. And it wasn't like the business in terms of like the operation and the technical work itself. It was the culture. It was the way they wanted their employees to show up through their personality. And I was still at an age where I was still getting, I guess, formed, if you will. So I was still impressionable in the corporate world. So my first year was really rough because I was hired during a time where my current bosses were all looking out for just themselves and their own promotions. Then at some point, I found myself without a boss and just kind of like floating around and trying to get my own team, my own direct reports to row in the same direction. Again, very new in this type of role and having so many people underneath me. Then they put Adam as my temporary boss, and they were very clear. They're like, "He's here temp, he moved here, he's transfer basically." And I was like, "Okay, that's fine." Yeah, I'm like, "It is what it is." But when he, came on site, he was very polished, very put together, he was extremely cheery. That's, like before you notice what he looked like, you heard him, which is
Mm,
funny because he's hard of hearing, and but he makes up in just his megawatt smile, he says hello to everyone and
mm,
everything, and he'll touch everything too. He will, like, touch your backpack and say, "Oh my gosh, this is so cute." Like, it's crazy. He's a cheerleader for sure. And if you know
definitely.
me personally, I personally give off a little bit of black cat energy. So I was constantly rolling my eyes with his team building antics and upbeat motivation. We were just getting into a really tough season, like literally burning out. And it happened. I truly burnt out to the point that I had to see a therapist. I was like, I can't do
Mm,
this. This is really tough for me. He was the first one to notice that something was off and brought me into his office. He was working just as hard as everyone else. And this is what I loved about him. And this is what what he showed me what a leader who works shoulder to shoulder with you, he presented himself that way, and I really appreciated it. He never made me feel like I was alone. But when he brought me back into his office, he didn't use that time to, like, sympathize with me. He just told me how my attitude was impacting everyone, and that if I needed help, whatever that means or is, I need to speak up or else it would negatively impact me and everyone around me. And he knew how much I wanted to be a good leader, so he used that kind of as motivation, if you will.
Sure.
So he said some other examples and antidotes that resonated with me, but that was the first time someone actually forced me to ask for
Ooh,
help. He said he wasn't going to let me, like, leave that office until I asked him for what I needed or told him what I needed. So I told him I needed a mental break. He literally rearranged the work and took on more so I could get that break. It was the start of a huge shift in how I saw the power of asking for help. It shows that I can be vulnerable, which I know is tough for a lot of people. And it also makes the team feel more involved or invested in you when they know that they're leaning in to help you or the project. But also, it gave me the ability to really lead through my strengths once I came back from my mental break. And it was only honestly like a couple days. It wasn't huge. We were working literally like 14-hour days. And we were
yikes.
doing that on like stretches, like weeks at a time. And it was crazy. Um, we had constant like meetings and team things and just, it was just a lot. And for someone that hasn't been in that type of environment before, and that's, like, your first year in this, company, that it can be a lot. So, he understood that, and he just gave me a breather, and that really helped me out a lot.
Adam sounds
Yeah.
like a pretty wonderful guy that made a lasting impression on you
Yes.
because as I know you, I don't see you worried about asking for what you need or what you want. I think that's great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so big shout out to Adam. I actually think about him often, and I follow, him and his husband on Instagram, so it's amazing to see him and his happy ending also, like, just
Yes.
him living out his best life. So,
Winners. I love it when your
yeah,
mentors are in a good spot because mine really are too.
yeah.
Yeah, and kinda as we were just talking about, mentors do come in all forms, and it's funny how your boss becomes a mentor, like Adam was for you, and Jackie was that way for me as well. I remember in the office one time, I had a girl in the office that was a bit jealous and would love to make a few snarky comments about me in front of the whole team. Even small things like we were having a chili potluck. Somehow made chili, brought it to the office, and this girl goes, "Kevs, this is the first chili you made, isn't it?" And I was just like, "Okay, I'll let that slide." And then she'd say other things like, "Well, I should just suck up to my clients like Kevin does." And I was like, "Girlfriend," wasn't about to call her a B. So, took a moment, and then I did ask my mentor/boss, slash boss, Jackie, and I was like, "Hey, how should I handle this?" And boy, did Jackie give me some great advice that stuck with me forever. Jackie said, "Hey, Kev, we never know what the full story is. If I was you, I'd just ask this girl directly and be empathetic. Be direct, ask her if there's something going on between us." So walked right into this girl's office and I said, "Hey, what's going on here? Is there anything going on?" And she just started backtracking. "No, nothing's going on. Everything's cool. Everything's great." And she's just like, "Well, everyone just seems to like you. And I was just making fun of you because I thought you could probably take it." Then this girl just starts sharing more. She's like, "Hey, I'm just struggling with the job. You make it look so easy." Okay, here's some context. Makes a little more sense. It was a bit of a bonding moment, and I just said, "Hey, I know work's never easy. It takes a lot of effort. And if you do need help, hey, I'm here for you. I'm on the same team." That girl took it to heart. She never made another snarky comment again. So great advice, Jackie. Thank you so much for that one.
Yeah, I feel like I mean, yes, thank you, Jackie, for sharing that advice because I think I've learned that a lot more, or I've utilized that a lot more as I've gotten older is just really stepping back and not taking like an event or a comment, like a snapshot of a whole picture, if you will.
Yes.
Because a lot is going on underneath the surface and we just don't know. But I also think building a relationship with people before you can rag on them, like how I rag on you and vice versa. I mean, we
Yeah.
say some
You can
crazy
make fun
things
of
to
my
each other.
outfits, don't make fun of my chili.
I would never, and you're a really good cook. I mean, some of the stuff looks like it would give me diabetes or like gout, but it looks delicious. It's really good.
Thank you.
So and I've eaten your food and it's really good, but I'm definitely fasting like a week after that.
Let's,
Um,
maybe table the climbing ladders cookbook for next year. Great.
totally. And I could imagine that chili probably I would like be so snatched after eating your chili.
It was spicy.
I'm sure, stingray. Um,
Uh,
so I do have it's a very small advice that I received from my mentors, and it was just the power of greeting, like a hello or a good morning. And which is
mhm.
funny because you mentioned in a previous episode where you walked up to me and I said, "Don't come over here." And I think it was just better that, you didn't. And I think it was me saving our working relationship and our friendship that you did not come over.
Yeah, no, that you didn't even have to say anything. I'm like, "Oh, turn around. Don't make eye contact."
Yeah, but that's because we knew the nature of the business and what was going on. But anyways,
100%.
going back to the power of a greeting. So a genuine greeting and also being ready for whatever the answer is, especially if you have an existing rapport with a team. So now that I'm forced to be a morning person because I'm the worker bee to two mini bosses, but
Mhm.
in my natural pre-mom state, I was not a morning person, and I am not a chatty person before noon either. So, however, made it a habit to do this with my teams, and we would have early start. So we would start as early as 4 a.m., 6 a.m., 8 a.m., whatever it is, because we had to pull reports. We would come in and pull reports as soon as it hit, like,
Mhm.
the portal system or whatever, and we would use so much time to dive into all of these reports, but I made it a point to come in and spend, a minimum of a couple minutes talking to each person on my team. I mean, like I said, we were working crazy hours to get ready for CEOs, board of directors, etc., the founders.
Mm.
So my teams would be there even throughout the night. But when I gave annual reviews, one of my direct reports told me that they actually looked forward to me coming in at 5 a.m. to do my rounds because they had a chance to have a genuine one on one with me and tell me about their progress, troubleshooting, like whatever they were working on, or just, to shoot the shit. And it was just really good to know that that intentional effort of that couple minutes made an impact, and I was consistent about it. Even when I came in feeling like crap or I just did not want to do it, I forced myself to do it and be genuine about it.
Yes.
So, it truly made all those quad espresso shots on ice worth it, and to be there in the morning and say hello. And I worked in the city at the time, so I couldn't get on a bus or anywhere. I'd either have to drive and pay that crazy city parking or I'd have
Mm.
to Uber or something like that. But I made it a point because I knew it was me investing in my team. And all of that was because I had a mentor that says, start the day with a good greeting.
Isn't it great when a mentor gives you advice or some guidance, and then you apply it, and then you see the fruits of that advice, and you're like, "Alright, well done. Thank you. You're right. I
Yes.
appreciate it. I'm better for it." And what's
Yes.
crazy is there's gonna be somebody, they're probably doing it now, that are like, "I love the way Christine did this with me. I'm doing that now with my team." And there's somebody else on their team being like, "I'm so grateful that that boss of mine is coming by and just saying hello before we start grinding away at this thing that needs to get done today." That's awesome.
It is. And something about just seeing your own team grow. I actually saw one of my past direct reports get promoted into a VP role of my kinda like my last role, and seeing her in that role just made me really happy. She's very deserving of it, and I think the time that I spent with her, like, I really would like, we sat at the same desk because I said, "You have to kinda work on this A, B, and C, and that's all you're gonna do this year is focus on this." And to see her go from that role to a senior director and then to a VP of product development, it's just really cool to see that and seeing all of your other, like, little ducklings grow into these beautiful swans and stuff. That's how I see it. I love to see anybody that was within my aura just flourish. It makes my heart happy.
Must have had a really good mentor named Christine.
I love to hear it.
That's awesome.
All right. Let's talk about how we find these people. How do we find a mentor? Yes, mentors are cool. We need them. We love them. But how do we find a mentor without making it, weird? Because people overcomplicate or overthink this. You don't need to corner someone at a networking event and whisper, "Be my mentor."
Yeah, don't do that. Really careful who you whisper to, um, and don't propose to that person on the first meeting. It doesn't work in relationships, and it doesn't work with mentors. Get to know them. See how they interact with people. See how they interact with you. Do you learn a lot by just watching them? Do you love hearing their ideas and thoughts? Those are good signs. What other good signs are there, CT?
I would say start with a conversation. I
Mm.
know this sounds it sounds silly and whatnot, but ask good questions. Like, truly ask what is on your mind that pertains to what you're looking for. Because I think most people that have been mentors or understand where you're coming from, understand what you're trying to ask or get to. And that also helps build trust that you're being transparent and you're being vulnerable. And also let it form naturally, like a friendship, but with maybe a little bit more work-ish boundaries. And once you start feeling them out, then you can see where their humor is and you can kind of get jokey about certain things. But for the most part, I truly, truly believe like what we said in the very beginning of this podcast, it's chemistry.
Yes. I love the way you say ask questions, but ask good questions. And it's almost a filter. I think about this and some of the mentorship I've been doing. I love investing time with people that I love that they're already thinking in different ways and really curious about learning. And that comes through with asking good questions. And when meet people like that, I I get excited, I get giddy, and I want to help them more, and I love that you said that, and I love that you said trust, again, back to the trust building. When I think about it, that's been something that I probably value the most, and what's funny is having these conversations with people that become my mentors, I don't think I've ever asked someone specifically or whispered in their ear, "Be my mentor." It just happened naturally.
Yeah.
And I'd ask more questions, and then more trust was built. Mentorship should feel like an ongoing dialogue, and I would say not a Costco membership. Again, you can have mentors for different levels of engagement. One mentor, Mary, I talk to maybe once a year, and it's really focused on career path. Others, like my buddy Bill, he's great for quick advice on how to handle this situation or just to riff on new ideas. Plus, he's super fun to grab drinks with, so it goes back to the workish boundaries, but I would consider him a dear friend now. I think mentors really they are more friends that I just value so much, so I just designate them mentors. They're great people, and I just love being around them. Okay, time for a quick sponsor break. What's better than having a conversation with a mentor while enjoying a glass of wine? Specifically, sharing a bottle from Glassman Wines? I'd say nothing is better. And here's to our sponsor for this week's episode. Normally $35, we have a climbing ladder special for only $24.95 a bottle. If you email my friend at Brian at briandavidwines.com, we'll have all our info in the description. Glassman Wines, when you need career advice. Glassman Wines, when you have an issue needing to work through. Glassman Wines, just because. Enjoy a glass today and please drink responsibly. Okay, back to the show.
Okay, we have definitely favored this part of our latest episode. So, this is the quickfire mentorship edition. So, Kevin, time for a quick round. No overthinking, 3 points for any ridiculous laughs, and let's take turns asking and see where this goes.
I love a point system. Let's do it. Let's go.
Okay, all right. Best question someone can ask as a mentor.
Best question. How can I win Powerball and what are the winning numbers this week? Do you think they'd know that? But for reals, any topic you want advice on, big or small, that's the best questions you can ask a mentor. Okay, flip side to that question, what's the worst thing you could say to a mentor?
I would say probably, and because I've actually okay, I'm not their mentor, I'm more like their colleague or peer, I should say, but I've heard someone say, "Sorry I'm late, I was Googling how much you can make starting an OnlyFans account." And like I said, I have many of my girl boss friends truly contemplating this because they're looking for other types of golden handcuffs.
I I feel like there's a whole business model idea there for you, and you could just call it girl boss and start your own offshoot of OnlyFans and just have all your friends have their own site. You could offer them a bigger percentage cut maybe,
Okay,
so
this is starting to sound like an MLM. Do we need do I need to move to Utah or something?
I maybe Delaware.
No, but I heard the tax break's pretty cool in Utah, and there's MLM, and, you know,
Utah's nice this time of year. Good
I
skiing.
I hear that. Okay, what makes someone a terrible mentor?
Terrible mentor. When every piece of advice either starts with "back in my day," and their day was 30 years ago, and there wasn't ChatGPT. World changes, buddy. Some advice doesn't need to apply to these current times. But actually, I'd also say the worst mentors, I think, are narcissists. They're the worst. They just wanna talk about how successful they are, how much money they've made, how many cars they own. "Congratulations, you were successful. Good job, buddy. Here's your trophy." I just have no time for that. Okay, what's your dream celebrity mentor? And it can't be Mr. Miyagi.
Yoda. I would have to say
Yoda!
Yoda.
Star Wars.
Yeah. Yes. And I also feel like he just he'll frustrate he's like the challenger. He would ask me, "Why? Why? Why?"
I'm slightly
You
hoping
know?
for a Yoda impression, and that close enough.
I was and he would frustrate me, but then I'm like, "I don't know," and I'd have to, like, go on some cliff on Mars and think of, "Why? Why?" And then it would come to me. But anyways, similar quick fire, what TV character would be the best mentor?
TV character, best mentor. Okay, no question at all, Mr. Theodore Lasso. Ted Lasso, I just that guy, that show's been a mentor for me. And side note, I can't think of another show that made me laugh so hard, made me cheer so hard, and I would happy cry every episode. I love that show. I can't wait for it to come back. Okay,
Yeah.
last one from me. What mentor would you be okay with being stranded on an island after my spaceship apparently crashed you and Heather on so you could work on your coconut skincare mask line?
Well, uh, so it's funny because when we had this episode, I actually really thought about the product. Like, I literally put, like, 15 minutes into thinking about this.
Of course you
But
did.
as far as a mentor goes, I would have to say you. Like,
Aw.
you'd be the challenger, though. Like, you couldn't connect us to anything out there. I know
Nope,
that. And
nope.
and you would not be a cheerleader out there because you would be very worried about your own survival situation. So, you'd be the challenger, and you'd be asking why the whole time, like, "Why are you putting that on me? Why does it burn? Is it supposed to smell like that? Like, why?" And we're like, "Just take it, okay? If you wanna
Shut
live,
up,
just
Kevin.
take it."
That's fine. I'd find
Yeah.
a way to make a whiteboard out of the cave wall or something, like, whatever you would need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then, like, what if we passed away and, like, people came to the island trying to find us, and then they think that there was some sort of, like, ancient tribe because they saw your drawings on the cave wall,
Yeah.
and it's a plan and it's a plan for the coconut skincare mask.
Why are there 2 women stick figures putting stuff on that crying other stick figure that looks like a guy?
And then I would this is not appropriate for this show, but I was gonna say, if you're using the coconut skin mask on the wall, that'd be kinda weird.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, "What kinda island party was this?" Firefest 3.0.
Fire Fire Fest for sure.
Awesome quick fire round. That made me laugh. Best segment.
Yes, okay, so I think we definitely covered a lot, like, we covered a lot in the world of mentors, mentorships, finding one, us being one, all the things, and obviously, you can definitely dive in more. We kinda scraped the surface, but I think we covered the topic in a very concise way and some giggles and some really heartwarming stories as well. If there's one takeaway today, I would definitely say mentorship isn't about having all the answers, like I just mentioned. It's about having someone who helps you ask the right questions. And this person or people are ones that you truly trust with your career and, most importantly, your best interests. So if it doesn't involve your career and it's just holistically your life, like your balance, like that person i- is looking out for you in general and they're in your corner, you found it. You struck gold, and that is a really good mentor. Kevin, anything else you wanna add?
Yeah, just a big shout out to the Mr. Miyagi's, the Yodas, the Ted Lassos, and all the Rebecca and Adams out there. If you've ever wondered whether you're ready to be a mentor yourself, you probably are. You don't need a plaque, you just need your experience and a big bag full of caring. Find your mentor, be a mentor, and keep passing that ladder down. Remember, your career is built by the people you show up for and the people that show up for you. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep on climbing those ladders. Bye, everybody.
Bye.